What's up everyone? As we hurtle towards the first double eviction of Big Brother 23, a brand new HoH has been crowned and their target has been revealed. We have so much to talk about, guys, so welcome to your live feed update. Alright folks, we've got a really great way to start today's show, so cue the music. Now folks, a Big Brother record has been broken, the history books have been changed. Folks, the house guests have been spinning and spinning and spinning around that circus, hanging onto those ropes for their Big Brother lives. But only one person was left standing. A huge congratulations to Tiffany. At the age of 41, Tiffany has become the first ever house guest in Big Brother US history to win back-to-back HoHs. This is huge news. Whether you are a Tiffany supporter or not, I would hope that as a Big Brother fan, you can take your hat off to her and give her respect for becoming the first ever person to do such a feat, especially at the age of 41. She is the oldest house guest this year. I'm so happy for her. That's brilliant news. It doesn't matter whether you put your differences aside, folks, whether you're supporting somebody or not. This is huge news in Big Brother. You'd expect somebody in their 20s to do something like this, and Tiffany at the age of 41, being the oldest house guest, killed this and smashed the record. So folks, I mean, it's huge news. And whether you say it's the first time, somebody's had the chance to do that, it doesn't matter, because guess what? The chances of Tiffany winning 2 head of households in a row were slim as is anyway. Anybody could have beaten them out, especially on a comp like this, like an endurance comp. You would think that Tiffany would probably not last as long, so I've got nothing but respect for Tiffany there. A massive congratulations to Tiffany for becoming the first back-to-back HoH in Big Brother history. So yes, folks, a huge congratulations to Tiffany for that. But let's actually talk about the drop order in which people fell off the ropes in the competition. So it was kind of weird because in the live show, we obviously saw Julie teasing this whole thing of tuning in on Sunday to find out if Alyssa can beat the Cookout, and then Alyssa fell before the show ended, and I was like, oh, the producers will not have liked that at all. But anyway, Big D had obviously fell in the commercial break, so he'd gone down already when the show came back. Alyssa fell just before it ended, followed by Claire, who actually she survived the show. She went down, I think, about 15 minutes later. Obviously she had to throw it, so she managed to get away with that one. And after Claire had gone down, it was Hannah, and then Xavier went down after that, leaving Arza, Carland and Tiffany up there. Arza was the next to go after that, and then it was Carland and Tiffany left up at the end. And I think people were thinking, because that would have been Carland's 3rd head of household competition, which is crazy, and Lord knows what he would have done after Sarah Beth being evicted this week. And we obviously know he likes to talk a bit more. So it would have been a long night, and I would imagine the house guests will have still been awake literally right now as I'm filming this update, when they really should be fast asleep, because that's usually what happens on Carlin's head of household. They are talking until about 6 or 7 in the morning, which is crazy. But anyway, Carland literally said at one point, he said, can you guys give us space so me and Tiffany can talk this through? Like, the people who were sat on the side, and the feeds had cut for a second, and I'm assuming that production had told them, nope, everyone has to say that. I mean, he hadn't even won head of household yet, and he was already scheming like that. Because usually, I mean, you don't ask everybody to leave. You just make the deal with the person on there, on the wall or on the ropes or anything. But Carlin clearly looked like he was struggling, and Tiffany was rock solid. She was hugging onto this rope, and she wasn't moving. She was holding on for dear life, and that she exactly did. Carlin fell off, and obviously Tiffany won the head of household competition. Now, Alyssa and Big D definitely took a hit after this comp, so obviously we found out the first 3 to drop would obviously become have-nots. Alyssa did not take this well. I'm sending good vibes to her, because obviously it must be tough to be on slop in there. I mean, imagine just eating the same thing for the whole week. Like, that'd be rough. That would really be bad. So, I mean, I hope she's doing okay. She was really bummed out. She was kind of feeling, I think she said she was worried about getting even more skinny, she said. And she was kind of worried about the fact that she just was over in general, just over the game, and she was saying she's sick of being fake and doing all these talks. Listen, I know people can probably give her flack for that, but it's tough. It's a long game, and it takes a mental toll. Listen, and I know people go, oh, you eat less on Survivor, and yada yada yada, but I mean, they're both different. Survivor's like probably more like doom because it's 39 days and somebody gets kicked out every 3 days, sometimes even less than that. Whereas Big Brother is a long game where it's nearly 3 months long, almost 3 months long. So both have difficulties, and you've got to sympathise with some of the house guests when they're struggling. But anyway, I hope Alyssa's doing okay, but she's obviously a bit bummed out by that, and she could potentially find herself on the block this week, which we'll get to later. And Big D was annoyed. He's shown this multiple times. I think he feels annoyed that he doesn't stand a chance to win any of these comps. He's saying where the eating comps, where the strength comps. And I don't know if I can sympathise with that, because listen, Big D has had his opportunity. There's been plenty of comps of the true and false ones, and the which answer is this comps, so he still had a shot, but I respect him for he goes into a little bit of a downer for a bit, but then he picks himself back up. He says, "Listen, in our family, which is obviously his dad was Smoking Joe Frazier, and he says we pick ourselves back up after our losses. So big respect to him for having that fighting attitude, and I hope he can pull himself back after that loss." Now, Tiffany and Carland had both told Xavier separately that they wanted to throw the head of household competition to ours. So that shows you there's a crack in the cookout right there. Tiffany and Carland, doom, doom, doom. They didn't want to go down. They really wanted to stay up longer than one another. And that just shows you they're starting to butt heads there. And when it gets down to F6, that could be a war. And with the double evictions coming, we've got some exciting Big Brother coming over these next couple of weeks. So, it really shows you where the loyalties lie and, who trusts one another. So Tiffany obviously won this battle. She hasn't won the war yet, but she's won the battle. So huge congratulations to her. And X is getting all that information. He's getting people coming to him left, right and centre. But, he's got Kylan, who's on one side, Tiffany on the other side. He's getting all the info. That's you got to give him props to that. He's positioned himself very, very well to be getting all that info. But anyway, of course, Tiffany's the one who's calling the shots this week. So she obviously went to talk to X about the vote, and it was kind of a bit of a tug of war, essentially, or a back and forth of who should be nominated. And X obviously is quite tight with Alyssa, and he was, as a matter of fact, pushing for Claire to be the target. And of course, Tiffany doesn't see any use of keeping Alyssa around because she realises she can control Claire more than she can control Alyssa. And rightfully so. That's what you win head of household for, so you can do your own work. And I respect that because so many times last year, people were doing the dirty work for Cody or for Memphis or for Enzo or, that sort of thing was happening. Or Nicole Franzel. So, this is why I like it, because Tiffany's going, do you know what? Everybody in the house, everybody in the cookout wants Alyssa out, but I don't care. I want Claire out. No, other way around. Everybody in the house wants Claire out, but I want Alyssa out. And Tiffany is not going to waver from that. She is realising I'm playing for my game, not for the cookout's game, and I respect that. She is trying to get out Alyssa rather than Claire. So she's telling X that, in order for that duo's cookout plan to work, X and Alyssa need to go on the block next to one another. So, I mean, I'll say it again. I've just got so much respect for Tiffany for actually sticking to her guns and not doing what the Alliance wants. She's putting herself in a better position, moving towards the F6, in which she's got Claire around rather than Alyssa. Because if Alyssa sticks around and somehow wins head of household next week, Tiffany could end up on the block and out the door. Whereas if Claire wins head of household, she knows she's made it to F6. And Tiffany already is, she's probably not going to go anywhere next week. She's already eligible to compete in F6 HoH as a result, which puts her in a great position moving into the double. This is exciting stuff, or the second double for that matter. Actually, wait, no, it'll be the second of the first double eviction. This is getting kind of crazy to think this through now. I'm really hyped about a double, and I've got to say, folks, as well, I'm more happy it's a double than a triple. Or two doubles than a triple. I don't know why. Like, listen, triple was kind of fun for All Stars, but I felt like too much was happening in one night. It kind of felt like it was a bit rushed, and I love a double eviction. It's a classic. I love a double eviction, so I'm stoked with that. But anyway, because Tiffany has won this head of household, she can't win. Next week's putting her eligible to compete in F6, as we said. So if it is the cookout in F6, Tiffany's already got a 1 in 5 chance of winning the HoH in the final 6. So she's positioning herself well, and she's playing the game down well. Massive respect to Tiffany, as always. Now, while X wasn't comfortable about going up once again next to Alyssa, Tiffany had said to him, if I win Veto, I'll take you down and I'll put him up. Him is either obviously going to be referring to Big D or Kyland. Obviously, Tiffany has shown she doesn't trust Kyland anymore, and she's obviously butted heads with Big D, so it could be anybody who goes up on the block at that point. It's a bit vague when she said him, but either way, she said to him, I'm going to lose Kyland in this game before I lose you. So you would assume it's Kyland, but that was kind of talking a little bit further on after that moment, so... And I do think she would stand by the statement she'll lose Big D before she loses Xavier. However, I believe Tiffany would realise she would win against Big D in the final 2 as opposed to Xavier. So she's really kind of solidifying that bond with X there, making him feel comfortable to be on the block, when in reality, I think Tiffany probably doesn't need to win the Veto. I think the only way that things could go kaboom this week is if Alyssa wins the Veto, then Tiffany would kind of have no choice but to put up Claire. That would obviously create massive ruffles, and Claire would obviously feel hugely betrayed because she has total faith in Tiffany. That's like your best friend in the house putting you up on the block. That's nuts. I mean, it kind of makes me think of it's a weird comparison, but if you think back to All Stars, do we remember when Chicken George won head of household and put up Howie? Howie felt massively betrayed because those two were like, they were tight AF, and then Howie was sent out the door. He obviously went rage mode when he went out, and he was nearly started a fight with Mike Boogie. Like, that was crazy stuff. But it's that comparison of putting up your closest ally. It's nuts, it's crazy, and it's Big Brother. So it could happen, but it would also make us question if it forces Tiffany's hand to maybe put up a member of the Cookout. Because, yes, they keep saying, it's bigger than all of us. It's bigger than any of us, the Cookout, the mission plan and mission statement. But it makes you think, and yes, it is, but it makes you think, would Tiffany actually go, do you know what? Claire's going to get me further in the game than Carland would, or Big D would, so why not just put up them? It's going to be an interesting week to see what she does, but I guess the only thing, like I said again, that is going to shake things up this week is if Alyssa wins the veto. That is all of your live feed updates for today, folks. I thoroughly hope you all enjoyed watching. I think it was a really, really exciting one today. Now, obviously, usually on Friday's updates, we don't have an awful lot to talk about because it's just from the head of household competition to the initial nomination talks. But it's exciting stuff because, obviously, that, Tiffany's made a stamp on the Big Brother history books, which is huge news. Let me know how you feel about that, folks. I just hope, like I said, put your differences aside, and whether you're rooting for a house guest or not, this is what I try and do, when I'm doing my videos. Obviously, you all know I've got people I'm rooting for, but it doesn't matter. You reward game for good game, you know what I mean? You give them praise if somebody's played a good game. Like, whilst you might not be rooting for someone, you can still acknowledge that someone played a damn good game. And a little shout out to Sarah Beth as well whilst we're at it, because whilst she obviously was kind of moping quite a lot this week, she went out the house kind of like a class act. She acknowledged the regrets that she'd made in the game, and she complimented people's good games, and she's gotten a jury in a very respectable way. So big congrats to her. I think only good things to report on really from yesterday. Massive good things to talk about there, folks. But please let me know what you think about this week so far. Essentially, it's only been a little bit in the comment section below. Are you happy that Tiffany is once again one head of household? Would you like Alyssa to be the target? Are you happy with Alyssa being the target? Would you rather it be X or Carland or Big D or Arza or Hannah or you name it? Just there's so many people to talk about, folks. But folks, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I'd really appreciate it. But I'll say, as I always do, make sure that you're staying safe, staying positive, and staying healthy out there. Be kind to one another. But in the meantime, please don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe. But until your next live feed update, I've been your host, Tom Vasey. Good night.